In today's video, you may come across a laser shooting robo-dog on a river ride that has actually pretty beautiful water, a Flexicolor raft finally, and an invisible bridge. Alright, after that intro, you know we have a lot to look at. And we are in my park over here, the High Peaks, but this is obviously today our testing environment. There is a lot you already saw in the very nice cut at the beginning, but now let's go into the big ones first of all, and then I'm going to show you a lot of tiny little things that have changed. First things first, little things like clicking into the menu. You can see there is now a semi-translucent, transparent kind of screen instead of that blank white one that just kind of gave you always a heart attack whenever you hit pause. Now it's gone, it's a lot more subtle. I like it a lot. I just really noticed that right away. Very, very beautiful. But let's quickly start with the Sci-fi pack. I did not put down every single piece, but you can see there are a couple of pieces over here. We do also have the Sci-fi doggy you saw at the beginning driving around on the boat, and with the boat comes also a brand new water effect, you know, as you can see over here. Last time we talked about that they may be working on it. It was already slightly improved. This time around it is massively improved. I mean, just look at that, and also look at how the colors can change depending on what you're doing with the underground color of your ride. So over here the rafts, for example, going in this kind of more turquoise kind of look that fits a lot better to the lake. I am absolutely stoked by that little change. This apparently is adjustable for all water rides, as you can see. Every water ride looks now a tremendous amount better. Everything is really on par now with the water rides. Speaking of those, we can also now change the color of the inflatables. Just gonna quickly show you. Now you can say conflume inflatables, can make that pink, and now in a second you'll see that a pink one will join us. There you go, with a pink inflatable over here. Finally, I was moaning about that quite a lot. That also does apply to a lot of the other things. Then you can see there are a couple of paths over here roaming around. We've also a very interesting bridge over here, as you can see. This is a transparent bridge. Now it just feels illegal to do that, not gonna lie. This feels absolutely illegal, as if I have a mod installed. You can see there are also no curbs on these items over here, no curbs on the ground. There is a whole bunch of stuff we need to talk about when it comes to the path, and that is the first thing we're going to do right now, because it is quite a lot. And then we also do quickly talk about the Sci-fi pack. There's not really that much to say about this, but I'm going to show you in the menu. However, the path for me personally may have the biggest impact. Now the path thing is the perfect tool that we always wanted and always needed. It already, that was my English broken over here. Anyways, this was already a very, very big step into the right direction. But now I think we can all agree the pathing finally is a non-issue anymore. Everything we ever wished for is available, and we can now have, first of all, roundish circle stamps over here. But you know what? We can also, if we want to get rid of the we can also just munch in here, just like Pac-Man would. You know, speaking of Pac-Man, how about we just do that thing as like a huge Pac-Man thingy? Let's just quickly do that. We go into the biggest size available. There you go. Then give that thing a little eye pokey. First of all, let's just quickly draw that into a yellow Pac-Man color. There you go. This is very yellowish, and then we're just gonna give that thing a little eye, you know, just gonna go back here, a smaller circle over there, just turning that into black. Give Packy Manny an eye. There you go. And now what we need is like a cutoff for the mouth, I guess. So how about just doing that with the new draw delete tool? Just cut that in, and boom, there we go, have a little Pac-Man shape. Now, what about if we want to have that all raised up a little bit, you know? Let's just select all the pieces, and you can see Taggy will be very excited how the path do define certain areas. I haven't really found a specific rule for that, but as you can see, there still seems to be some smoothing going on over here on these pieces, but you know, I didn't have the time to go deeper into that. Let's raise that up a little, and look at that. We do still have a little bit of a foundation, but we don't have a curb anymore, even not on the raised area. And you know what? That we can also change, and we can say, you know what, we don't want to have the foundation over here. So let's go back to our tool and click once, and it's gone. Look at that. The only kind of little caveat is that you now do have a bit of a border connected between those two. I'm not entirely sure why exactly you do that, but you obviously could get rid of it by just giving access, like giving everything this look. Whoops, there you go. just doing that. Now we also have like a little outline here of the eye that almost looks good, because that one is the only one having a foundation. You can imagine that there is a lot of shenanigans now possible with the path width, and apparently, yes, you can also make everything transparent, if you will. You're just going to choose an invisible path and then just going to say click, and it's gone. But actually there is path, even though you don't see it. If I grab a person over here and throw the person up there, the person will be standing in mid-air because there is a pathway. Now if we revert that, there you can see the path is back in here. And we can also go back. While clicking on a person, you can see there's a bit of a story I want to tell. Please appreciate that I really thought about how I'm going to make this showcase. But we can now see guest moods with a reason. Now you can see the current mood is in a content mood because good scenery nearby. Glad you are in my park, you know. Very, very much appreciated. Oh, you know what? If we want to poke out a little pool bump over here, you know, how about just going to do that? Just put a circle island in the middle. Oh, that's too steep. Well, hold on. Working height. Wait, hold on. Can I just... There you go. We just poked that in. There you go. We just poked that in. And now we've got a little island over here. But what about if that island doesn't really looks nice? Well, we can still use that little cutoff over here as we want to. Whoops. Hold on. Stamp delete tool is not what we wanted. I guess we should go here and here. And then usually it should delete. Oh, that seems to be like a little bug over here. Because, oh wait, no, actually I'm deleting the pool. Hold on tight. I'm stupid, okay? I was just about to appreciate me, and now I'm the stupid person. I was about to say, we want to carve in here. Just do that. Actually, you should be the same. Can I do it this way? Too steep? Oh, do I need to go for waiting? Nope. What is this? Diving? Okay, you better have the correct height. Then it should be better. Okay, I tried to do something, but I think the pool doesn't have the correct... Actually, it is... Can I just use that one then instead? Hold on. Can I just use the draw tool? If I draw through here, normally that should work. It does not work because of being too steep. That's actually kind of weird, because usually that is the correct size. But apparently, if you do that correctly, hold on, depth, wading, swimming. Yeah, no, it doesn't want to do this, but I tested that before and it all worked pretty well. So seems to be like a little bug in the early access version. Might be fixed. That should definitely be easy to see then. Okay, now we focus on that. Let's actually move outside of this thing, because I prepared a couple of things. We now also have coasters, because we look at that coaster in a second. But first of all, maybe you notice something about these stations. Well, indeed, you can now put different types of grounding colors and textures on your stations as well. That's pretty neat. Indeed, you can have all the different textures on your coaster platforms to make them look a bit nicer. And you can see, you can also play a little bit. And yes, I already tested if you can make them invisible. So in case you're wondering, nope, you cannot make them invisible. That's a bit of a pity. But you can apparently do any path you want, as you can see over here. You can also, that one doesn't work, but you can also go with this loopy loop path, and then you can also have wooden stuff over here. Pretty simple. You can easily do that. This also does apply on the stations. Hold on tight. They should also be, whoops, there you go. Because they weren't before. They also should now be, yeah, there you go, customizable, as you can see. And the only thing is, you still have the railings available over here. This is the only thing you can't do, but you can keep the railings now in your own colors if you want. So that's a given too. I'm wondering, can I also do this platform down here? Yeah, you can, but now down here you can even get rid of the... Wait, hold on. Can I also... On the top layer? Okay, now on the top layer you can't get rid of the railings, but the lower layer you can get rid of the railings, which is kind of cool. To be honest, that's something people wish to have, and there you have it. So that is pretty cool. That is super, super cool. And we apparently also have that brand new returning coaster, the Mach version 2 of the boomerang coaster. We can also quickly just test that and sit ourselves in here and have a little ride on the boomerang coaster. While we do so, I can tell you a lot of different things I noticed that are not visible. So for me personally, the colors are adjusted just one more time. I think specifically over here now is a very good example of how desaturated it is now. Again, it's something I just noticed. I can't prove it. I don't have before and after screenshots that would prove it. It's also subtle, but it is definitely visible for me personally. It looks a lot more like people prefer it. It's still not Planet Zoo kind of level of realism colors, but it's definitely more desaturated than it was before. Overall, the graphics and lighting seem to be ever so much subtly improved and refined, which is also for some of the UI areas. I can't really pinpoint what exactly it is, but it just looks a little bit as if they have, you know, made sure that all the distances between icons and so on are all now consistent, and all these kind of quality things in UI design you would do now finally seems to have happened. So that is pretty cool as well. I also double checked the weather. There's no updates on weather, unfortunately, but I will keep on looking into these in the next couple of updates. And hell, maybe we know already more now because of yesterday's Frontier Unlocked, which for me is in a couple days because I have early access and prepared a video for you. And actually on Wednesday we won't have early access anymore, so if there is actually big news on that one, let's be glad, everyone. And also for those of you who want to have swing launches and so on, hopefully that's in the future too, because apparently the game can kind of do it with the boomerang coasters over here. So yeah, so this is that, but you can see there's also more. You can see some very cool rocks over here, and yes, apparently rocks are now available as a set that is Flexicolor. Now going back into everything with the UI, you can see there are stones over here you can apparently not recolor, but if you go into these ones, you can see we can recolor those. And the good thing is they have two slots that have a very, very nice kind of mixture of both. It's almost like the aquatic rocks, but they're just not, like, obviously not glowing, but you can see it's a very nice shade. You can make some really cool kind of jungle rocks now, every kind of planet you wish to do. This is really, really damn cool. Also, there's a western area over here on purpose, because there are now pieces we were moaning about why the heck we didn't get them as individual non-grid options, because apparently these things are in this game a novum, so to say. They haven't been this way in Planet Coaster 1, but Planet Zoo did establish the 4 and 1 and 2 meter half walls that are non-gridded, and obviously we builders, we love to do that. Just as a little example, in here I needed to trick a little bit around. As you can see, I used some other pieces because these things were not available, and so this is why I took the build, because if they were available I could have just easily used them over here, whoops, to make this, you know, but I didn't because they weren't available. My English is really broken today. But yeah, so also Flexicolor, as you can imagine, there you go, would have been a lot easier, but thanks Frontier for adding it anyways. Also, you may wonder what the heck is going on with the windows over here of this wonderful church. Well, you can apparently also Flexicolor those and also set the opacity of the glass, make it super opaque or make it super transparent if you want. That is pretty cool indeed. And also if we go to the menu and we're going to type in glass, then you will now see that there is a couple of new glass fiber pieces. This is why, but the glass panels, apparently we do have quite a lot of those now. Oops, let me just place this down. There we have it, and you can recolor all of those and change the opacity up until being 100% opaque, which is super great. There's this tiny bit of, this is actually even better than in Planet Zoo, because the Planet Zoo opaque ones are fully like non-transparent, but with these ones that's pretty good. You still have a tiny bit of opaqueness, opacity, I guess, whatever, but you can still see a tiny bit, which I think is a good idea, because there you can make some very cool things, like with windows in front of certain things you may not want to see fully. I don't know, but this is pretty cool addition. This is a very good addition for everyone who loves to go crazy with these type of glass pieces. I'm not sure who I would think could be that. And now let's go to another big feature. This is the security guard. As you can see, the security guard is in here. We have a lot of information about the security guard. If we go through, as you can see, we can again put different pay versions in. You can see their thoughts, you can see their schedule, you can even change apparently their visual appearance, which has nothing to do with the way how they make their jobs, but or how they perform, but you can, which is pretty neat indeed. And you also have now a security overlay heat map. You know, if you go into heat map, you will now have, wait, hold on, Panic, Magia, Ride Height, Q, and G-Force. We have Staff Mold, Staff Pace, Staff Brakes. I'm not sure exactly where this is now in. Maybe Score, Needs Cleaning, Condition, Pool Safety, Security Coverage is a new one over here in the Operations tab, as you can see. Then we have Pickpocketing as a new one, and Vandalism. So remember back in the day where we had 3 different operation thingies over here, and there was only Condition and Pool Safety, and the third one all of a sudden was gone. Maybe they had that in mind for the future, I don't know. But yeah, as you can see, this is that. There is a little bit of a caveat that might actually be the only negative of the entire pack. We can't access the camera view anymore. There's just the option to recolor apparently this thing finally. This is new, we weren't able to do that, but we unfortunately cannot go into different areas. You can open the menu from this thing, but you can't access this. There's only the setting that you go into the coverage, which is a little bit of a downer, but whatever, it is what it is. Now we also have more changes, and you can see there's a couple of pieces I arranged over here, which were just to show you a couple of the sci-fi pieces. Before I go into what I want to show you next, let's quickly type in and go into the scenery pack and say sci-fi. There you go, and now we've got the sci-fi pack, and here you can see there are a couple of pieces you will recognize. This time around they immediately gave us all the pieces, as you can see over here. There are the metal alloy walls, which I feel like is fantastic because they are really, really cool. They are a very nice addition because they have such a subtle metal shine to it. They are not as glossy as the other ones, so you can make some really cool stuff with them. Let's have a look at them from all angles. There you can see that. This is the metal alloy giving you that tiny bit of glossiness, but like just a subtle glossiness. Specifically in the indoors, they look really, really cool, which I'm going to show you in a second. Let me just give that thing a little go and slide that thing in here. You know, there are reasons for that. Stick with me, we are going to do that. But there are also some really cool pieces they brought in from the original sci-fi pack, which look a little bit better. Specifically these meshes in here, they're a lot more sharp and a lot more refined, which I like. And apparently all these pieces are again scalable, as which is very new, you know, which makes sense in this game, as this is not new for the game. Everything Flexicolor, which is really good. I remember this specific piece over here being one of the ones that wasn't Flexicolor for the most time in Planet Coaster 1. Just very late in the game, I think they made this Flexicolor again. We also got our very cool cables again. They will be of great use for backstage areas, and scaling them very tiny over here, as you can see, will get us very happy, because that's going to be a very good one. The only thing is we do have a lot of animatronics coming in again, which are all, and if I click on them, you can see you can play them every second, deactivate them, and on trigger as always, and you can make this thing loop. But the problem is, in case you like this, you can't scale these things. So this is kind of a rule I found now. Every single piece in game that is already animated, like animatronics, they are not scalable. Same apparently goes for the whole area here. There you go, the troopers. And what's pretty cool as well is we also do get the picnic table as a bench for our restaurants. This is pretty new. The other benches were already the ones that we know from Planet Coaster 1. I think there might actually be some pieces missing from the original sci-fi pack. I did not double check, but it seems like there's still some missing. But you know what, at this point, as Frontier showed this now with the other packs as well, with the Western pack, we can be sure that they will deliver on them in the next updates. Maybe they weren't fully ready with this, but as they said that in the next update there will be a theme again, they will potentially get us as well pieces. Now we have seen this time around that this has been done, which I am a big fan of with the Western set, despite the fact we got the brand new sci-fi set, but there are so many great pieces in here. Just in general with this pack, I think it's very noticeable how these pieces look a lot better. The textures have been improved noticeably, and also the overall model itself looks a tad bit refined. So this time around I can really tell what they meant by they have improved this for the game and not just put in. They are not far away from the originals, because they should be that. Now another thing I want to show you is that you now can change lamps. Now we're going in here into the star field, and you see, wait, Rudi, what are you talking about? Those lamps look the same, right? But they're not. This one's set on loop, and that one's set on night only. Okay, what's the difference? Well, apparently these star panels that we got again, they seem to suck in the light. And that is very interesting because that shows that Frontier is capable of doing certain things in-game, which is very interesting. Because then when I figured that this seems to be happening, if we go in here, you can see they do create a tad bit of light, but not that much. Now, if we go into the other cube over here, you can see, whoops, if we go in, it's going to become very dim because there's not really much light coming from this one. Let's grab that metal alloy piece and bring this over to us because we'll need that in a second. Let's put this down here because I can show you what I meant with this shiny and glossiness. Now, let's put this one on loop and boom, the light is on and you now have the full kind of beautiful new lighting in the game. If you move that, oh god, that's still so good to have. Look at that. Woo! That is so good. Unfortunately, it still does not cast proper shadows, which is a bit of a sad thing, I guess. I would have loved that if you put that here, for example, we would have a proper shadow behind, which is not happening. You know, it has a very nice lighting on in the front of the alloy over here, but there's not that typical kind of drop shadow you would have, which is a bit of a could be improved in the future, you know. And if you deactivate that, apparently it's not fully dark in here because it still does cast some light as long as it's activated in that one. I wish they were just going to be fully deactivated, like full, because if you go for black, then everything becomes pitch black, which just makes sense, you know. And if you go into like a yellow color, it just kind of creates that little yellow glow. Go to loop and everything is turned on again. So you can set all the lampposts. I did also put some down over here. You can set this now to loop or only nighttime, which is very cool because that's helping you to make your parks look good. Now, this would be the perfect opportunity then to say, hey, if we create, let's say, a complete crazy heavy rainstorm, this would be the moment where the lamppost would actually shine and gets cast some light. But just to showcase, that's not going to happen. Also, there's still going to rain in here, but you don't really see a difference between these two lights turned on and off. Even if you put them into the shade, you won't really notice any major difference between just those two, which only works really in indoor sections. But you know, that's what they have anyway. So let's think about if I did forget about anything. I wanted to show you just again how beautiful the water looks. Ah, it's looking so freaking awesome. Let me just quickly double check on my cheat sheet if I missed out on anything very much important. Oh wait, hold on, we just jumped one thing in my storyline. There was one thing missing. Apparently we got some D-themed coasters again, which are the two High Peaks Construction or Rocky Mountain coasters, you know, the RMCs over here. That's the one for the steel top, and this is the, no, actually this is the hybrid, this is steel top. This one over here and that one over here, they're again fully exchangeable, so that is no big deal or drama, so you can both use them. The returning right I did show you, the inflatables I did show you too. We also have pickpocketing, which I didn't show you as a, you know, thing happening, but you have seen that in plenty of videos, I guess, and are happy, hopefully, with all of that. So I am happy when you are happy, because this over here is a tremendous effort yet again from Frontier, and I must admit I did not expect them to go that far, and I can't wait. Like, I'm getting so excited now for the Frontier Unlocked and to see sneak peeks on the next update. You can't, if you would have told me 6 months ago that this is where Frontier is getting this game in time, that I would have not believed in that anymore, not anymore, and just in general. And I also must admit that, like, all the changes they do, they feel substantial, they feel really fleshed out, they look good, they feel good, they work. And yes, there is still a lot to fix, there is still a lot to do, there is still some work to do, specifically when it comes to the gameplay elements, which there is a lot of fixes yet again in the whole changelog. You know, there's a lot of fixes they do about the the ride system and the construction system, but also they did change a couple of things about the ride reputation system. Now with the security guard in game, there is so much about now messaging is now done in a better way. There is very nice new tool tips, as they say. So there's a lot of stuff. Oh, and apparently the career maps Act 3, 4, whatever that is, are now available for Sandbox too. You know what? Let's actually just quickly do exactly this. I'm gonna type in showcase because I'm certainly not gonna save this one. So while we're doing this ending over here, we go to the main menu and we're gonna say we start a new park, a new Sandbox park to be precise, and then let's go out of that one, a new park, and then we say we go into here. We can also career templates in here. Oh, look at that, there are also now available right away, and you can see this is the Double Trouble. Oh, the one that I played the first, that's cool. The Garden of Edith, and we also have the Fable Fjord. Let's quickly click on that one. Is that, I'm not sure if that's a nice map. Anyways, but to do that little outro, I am, again, as I said, absolutely positively surprised by Frontier. Yes, I know there is a lot still to do. As I said, oh my god, that's a very neat map, to be honest, to build in. Very cool. Very nice next to the fjord over here. Yeah, no, actually, that should be it. With this one, I'll leave you guys to this wonderful update. I highly recommend getting back into the game if you haven't already. There is a lot under the hood. I can't really pinpoint, as I said. I also need to check if there are any more new settings in here where we can maybe interface scale. That's what I was looking at. Now put this back to 70 because people were moaning that this is, there you go, it's a lot more nice now, smaller and so on. Not sure why I did change this back, but this is also making this feel a lot more like what you would expect it to be. As I said, it feels a lot more refined everywhere, a lot more nice, a lot more snappy. Again, something you can't really pinpoint, but yeah, I'm rambling. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this update. Again, as you can see, with a free update, 26 minutes of me just rambling and showing you stuff. You can see how much that is, and I may even have missed something. So thank you so much for your patience, for watching, and so on. I talk to you in the next one. Thank you, and goodbye.